One, the campaign for Kamala Harris and vice presidential nominee Tim Walz repeat the ridiculous lie that JD Vance had sex with a couch. We've hit a new low off the rails with Pete Hegseth. Two, folksy and moderate, or the man who let Minneapolis burn. Can you run a campaign on vibes, or do you have to ever account for your leadership? Breaking down the governor's office that wanted to raise the windows and smell the tires burning in 2020. Three, you, the listener, the viewer of the Will Cain Show, interacting with the Willisha. Plus, as we approach 1 year, where do we stand today in Lahaina, Maui? It is the Will Cain Show, streaming live at foxnews.com and on the Fox News YouTube channel, the Fox News Facebook page, and always on demand by subscribing at Apple or Spotify. You can listen to the Will Cain Show whenever and however you like. Always on demand. If you want to watch the Will Cain Show whenever and however you like, simply subscribe on YouTube. We got a big show today. We're going to have fun. We're going to go off the rails with Pete Hegseth. This morning on Fox and Friends, I did a little episode, a little segment of Off the Grid with Pete Hegseth. We are working on dominating, monopolizing the off market when it comes to television. Maybe we're off-brand television. You know, while sports television all rushes to see who can stake their claim to the unshows, you know, undefeated, undisputed, we're over here value buyers, just dominating the off market when it comes to television. But there was a moment this morning when I was on Fox and Friends that my wife just got tickled. She really got a good laugh out of Steve Doocy saying goodbye to me and Pete Hegseth. Here, watch. I introduce you to Off the Grid with Steve Doocy.
And I have a fridge full of them in my office. So I don't know what it is about Diet Mountain Dew. I can't endorse Tim Walz's use of it, but it does keep you awake, and it has no calories.
And Will says it all right there, just with a little laugh. Yep, that's my Mountain Dew buddy right there.
That's right.
All right.
Not a Diet Mountain Dew guy.
Nah,
not big on Diet Mountain
Not
Dew.
exactly.
That's my Mountain Dew buddy. She whipped out her phone. She took a video. She sent it in to the Will Cain Show. She loved it. That's my Mountain Dew buddy. Let's get to it with my Mountain Dew buddy with story number one. He is my co-host on Fox and Friends Weekend. He is the host of Off the Grid on Fox and Friends and Off the Rails on the Will Cain Show.
Look at
He
that flag.
is a resident of Tennessee and just got back from a vacation in Montana. Give me a second, Hegseth, while I figure out how to direct this show.
We've got a fancy new studio, but it's really, the robot's out of control.
You're killing me over here,
I
buddy.
really
I had
like
it all
You know
dialed
what?
in.
No.
I thought I
That
had it
was a
all dialed
really-
in.
That was a really nice attempt by a producer to do a bump shot that started on the Tennessee flag and then zoomed out and pervaded. It was a nice attempt. It went off the rails, but it was good. And I like your getup there. It's cute.
As is appropriate for Off the Rails, your producer and director who couldn't operate the robot cam is yours truly. It is the multi-talented Will Cain, host and director of the Will Cain
Wow,
Show.
you get to
I got a
operate the
Zoom button, Hegseth,
Whoa.
and I've got a robot cam, and I'm awful. I'm literally awful at all of it, but I'm working on it. You can see
That's cool.
this is bringing you around the studios of the Will Cain Show.
Wow. I like that a lot. That's
Where
cool.
I brought you in with a Tennessee flag and a little zoom in from the Montana flag. We're going to get to your trip to Montana here in just a moment. But I had to bring you in, my Mountain Dew buddy. here into the
That's
Will Cain
right.
Show.
What's the Texas equivalent of Mountain Dew, Will? What is your version? It feels like if you got JD Vance and you got Tim Walz, we're both from Minnesota. Tennessee is where Mountain Dew came from, by the way, originated from Tennessee. That's maybe why it's so popular around here. What is it for you? What do Texans drink that keeps them awake but doesn't give them calories?
But is that really, I mean, I've never looked over at you in the mornings on Saturday drinking a Diet Mountain Dew and thought that's regional. The answer to your question is Dr. Pepper. I mean, without a doubt. I mean, Dr. Pepper's on-base percentage in Texas has to be, it's slugging well over 1,000 in Texas. And it's putting up Hall of Fame numbers.
Has your age group, our age group, reached the spot we're at Diet Dr. Pepper and we're continuing what we did as teenagers? Yeah. Okay. So I love Diet Dr. Pepper. It's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I think I don't see it like all the time, but I do know some people say, yeah, I'll take a Diet Dr. Pepper. But here's what's curious to me. Are you saying that Mountain Dew is sort of the Midwestern Dr. Pepper? Like the fact that you and Tim Walz, also from Minnesota, and JD Vance from Ohio all like Mountain Dew, is that regional?
And it's big here in Tennessee. I'm not making that up. It was founded and originated in the Mountain Dew's moonshine originally, and that's where it came from. So I think it is regional. I think there is a Midwest, South-ish Mountain Dew. I'm making this up. I have no idea, but I have 3 data points.
3 data points. I actually think a Mountain Dew might make my top 5. Like if I were making a soft drink top 5, it might get there. Dr. Pepper is clearly number 1. I don't mean to lean into the stereotype, but it is. It's just amazing. And Mountain Dew, I really like. Do you know what I think is underrated? Pepsi. I think because so many people love Coke, they hate Pepsi. And I'm here to tell you, I don't hate Pepsi. I don't know that I'm telling you it's better than Coke, but I'm not super disappointed. Like if I go to a restaurant and they're like, we're not a Coke restaurant, we're a Pepsi restaurant. Okay, cool. Time for let's vary it up. I'll have a Pepsi.
Well, and Mountain Dew is a Pepsi brand, so anytime I see Pepsi, I'm happy because then I get the alternative. I also love Diet Pepsi over Diet Coke, and so I'm in the family of brands squarely. Yes.
All right, let's get to this ridiculous story, man. This is something else, and I don't even know. I didn't text you ahead of time that I said I want to talk about this. So I'm actually curious. I'm going to start with the question. Do you know the JD Vance couch story?
I've seen it. We'll get into the Montana vacation thing. So some of that is I was watching from afar more casually. I wasn't doing what we normally do throughout the course of a week, which is consuming actively the news and preparing for segments that we're doing. So we're diving into the details of what the facts are and what everyone's saying. And as a casual viewer, I was sort of saying, this seems weird, and it's already been discredited by people who would otherwise likely want it to be true. So I don't know. It sounds weird, and it's ridiculous, and I dismiss it.
I was on vacation as well. I missed it.
That's how I consumed it.
Yeah, I missed it totally. I was on vacation. And the thing is, I don't think if anybody's listening that you would have heard this story unless you were like, super plugged into social media. I think there's many people listening right now on YouTube, on radio, who probably don't know what we're talking about, okay? Now, the story is as follows. I'll tell you the story first. And I feel a little even weird talking about it, Pete, not because of its salaciousness, but like it's a ridiculous lie. And so do you even give credence? Right? But totally made up. Do you give credence to it by playing defense? Right? Yep. And my initial answer was no until yesterday, Pete. Okay, so here's the story. The story is that JD Vance, this is the story, wrote in Hillbilly Elegy, cited on a specific page, that he had sex with his couch, that he turned a latex glove inside out and stuffed it between cushions and had sex with his couch, okay? That's the story. Now, to your point, I'm going to see if I can bring this up here in the Will Cain Studios. I've already failed miserably at my directing, but I want to bring up the fact check on this, the real story here of what happened. And this is according to cracked.com. I mean, I don't really know how much I'm supposed to trust it, but I'm going to read you the fact check, okay, Pete? It's, so it's a joke. The story is clearly untrue. I'm reading now. but nobody seems to mind. The joke's longevity has now been further extended by Vance himself after he made a comment about his wife forcing him to sleep on the couch. I'm not sure that's him leaning into it or not. It's unclear how many injuries were sustained by people frantically rushing to their devices to make the jokes. Here's how it began. An account named Rick Rudecavs on Twitter created the joke, made a fake citation to Hillbilly Elegy, meaning it gave page numbers, right? But it completely made up. And then it's been repeated by Kamala HQ on Twitter. So that's a campaign account. But here's what I think is fascinating. I'm going to read you this. Rick Rudecavs told Business Insider that he was inspired by Lyndon Johnson's infamous, perhaps apocryphal, quote, pig effer strategy. I don't know if you remember that history, Pete. It's in which he asked his campaign manager to invent a salacious pork-based rumor about a political opponent. This was written about in Hunter S. Thompson's Fear and Loathing on the Campaign Trail. Johnson knew it was a false allegation, totally untrue, but he, quote, wanted to make that son of a bitch deny it. So you're winning by making them say, whoa, I didn't have sex with a couch. So that's the couch story. It's totally made up. And before I toss it to you, this is why I wanted to bring it up. Because this is Tim Walz in his introductory press conference yesterday with Kamala Harris in Pennsylvania.
And I got to tell you, I can't wait to debate the guy. That is, if he's willing to get off the couch and show up. So, you see what I did there?
Yeah, I mean, it's allusion to it, right? They're gonna lean in. I mean, half the reason they chose Tim Walz is because of his whole weird thing, which of course he's the things he. And again, when we're addressing it, we're losing because we're playing defense because he's the weirdo who's pushing all this weird stuff in Minnesota and all of that. But it was all meant. I mean, this Cavs guy who pushed it out, is he tied to the campaign? I presume not, right? I presume he's just some guy that pushed something and made up a citation.
He's just a poster. Just some dude on Twitter.
If Kamala's HQ and Tim Walz are peddling it, and they know it's false, then they are using that same strategy. And listen, all they do is accuse the right and the left and they accuse the right of mis and disinformation. They know precisely that this is not true, but they think the weird thing works, and they're going to force them to defend it. And then here we are talking about it. I wonder how often stuff like this actually happens, and yet we don't get as clear an opportunity to debunk it because you have a page and a fake citation, and you can go to Hillbilly Elegy and look at it and say it's not on the page and it's not a real citation. How often this happens where people are forced to defend it. Imagine Donald Trump, the amount of things he says, hey, they made that up. Imagine how often that is the case.
Well, let me just give you some of the things people say in response to this. DJ Crazy Crab on Twitter says, you must be fun at parties. It's obviously a joke. Look, Donald Trump is damn near a comedy routine up on stage at a rally, right? So I get being funny, being personable, telling a joke. But DJ Crazy Crab, like, if I said, that I'm not even going to do it because you might accuse me of libel or slander, right? Defamation. But if I said you did some horrific crime over and over and repeated it and damage your reputation falsely, I don't know. Is it a defense to go, hey, dude, you must be fun at parties. Take a joke. like you just the stage of a rally is not the place to indulge in a lie created on X. It's just not. And then I saw somebody else say this, Pete. The right has, what did it say? The right has for years leaned into the big Mike thing about Michelle Obama. And now this is where you draw the line? Well, hold on a minute. I'm not going after Rick Rudecavs on the internet for making up some ridiculous story. I'm going after a vice presidential candidate for repeating it on the stage of a rally. And I don't know, I'm serious. Has Donald Trump done the big Mike thing? Has JD Vance done the big Mike thing about Michelle Obama? I don't think so. And I think there should be a difference But I see you making a face. I don't know.
No,
if
I don't
you know
think
that he
so.
has
I
or
was
hasn't.
thinking about
But-
it. I don't. And I do think you're making an important
Well, there should be a
distinction.
difference between,
Crazy
the
DJ
responsibility of
Krabs
someone,
And,
and
big
people that
cabs.
post on X and a candidate for
absolutely.
president.
Absolutely. There should be that type of standard. But someone was asked me recently at an event, what's the one of the biggest challenges you face working at Fox vis-a-vis another network? And or the differences between it. And one of the answers I had was, we're confined to actually the truth. Like I have to feel like I'm working hard to dig to actual evidence. And yes, I will have my opinions and perspectives, but eventually, or in real time, and you've been a part of this too, it's like, where are the receipts? Can you confirm that? Yes, I have opinions, but we still work hard to make sure it's correct. And I think we're at a place where the left is unbridled by truth and facts, and here's the latest evidence of that.
That's why I said this morning, it's a new low. It's a new low. And again, I don't know if I'm going to be able to screen. Of course, the response is going to be Trump tells lies all the time, which I would say just instead
and they're going to be
of
like, it was a joke,
saying
get off the
that.
couch, whatever, he's having fun with it, get off the couch. Like he didn't say, oh, he did this with the couch. So they'll just dismiss it and say, hey, it was an offhand fun comment, leave it be. That's how they'll explain it.
Yeah. All right, I want to ask you about Tim Walz. You have been on this story. So Tim Walz, I was really shocked, Pete, how much yesterday. I don't know if you watched that big rally that had Josh Shapiro, Kamala Harris, Tim Walz. I was shocked how much Kamala Harris leaned into calling him coach, every time, Coach Walz, Coach Walz. I've always, you and I've joked about it. Is coach really one of those titles you keep for life? It is, though. We all do it.
Yep,
even if you've been tried 20 years. If you retire 20 years, you go over to your neighbor's house and they go, hey, coach.
Absolutely.
But the same thing applies to governor and congressman. So they're clearly doing the coach thing to make him super relatable.
Can I say
but they're
something
also
about that
hyping
first,
up his
Will? Let me say something about that.
Yeah,
Because I got an email shortly after that speech from, he will remain nameless, but he's been the sports anchor at one of the 4 networks in Minneapolis. So he was the guy that did sports when I was growing up. The guy, and we had 4, 5, 9, and 11, ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox.
Of course.
He did high school sports. You always know who those guys are, right? So it turns out he's a conservative. He emailed me. He goes, I watched Walt's VP rollout, where he talked about being the coach of Mankato West football to the 1999 state title. And this is the kind of guy that would catalog this kind of stuff, as if he was some kind of second coming of Vince Lombardi. You want the truth? He was an assistant coach, and I'm pretty sure it was for the JV or the junior high. In other words, the guy in charge of the water bottles and the training kit. Okay? Real athletes hate it when other people make false claims about their accomplishments. What a phony. So even the coach side, yes, he's a coach, but was he the guy with the headset making the call with 2 minutes to go on the 5-yard line for the state championship? No. Tim Walz was also there, and it's fine that other people are also there, but they're playing it up like everything else. Oh,
You knew their names. Do you have me? Do you know one of the ones in Dallas? He's related. You talk about those 4 sports anchors, right? And everybody knows them. I'm going to give you a quiz. One of the 4 sports anchors in Dallas is related to someone who works at Fox News and has the exact same last name. I'll tell you, they're cousins, first cousins. Can you guess? And I'm going to give you one more hint. Very, very close to your world. Very close.
I'm going to say, I don't know, Will Cain?
No.
Lawrence
In
Jones?
fact,
I
there's
don't know.
been 3
People
Fox.
I know in Dallas.
There's 3 Fox personalities until you brought up Lawrence Jones who've been mentioned on this program. You, me, and another one.
Oh, Ducey. Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yes. Ducey's cousin is one of the. I can't remember which one he is. I think he might be Fox. I don't know if he's Fox, actually. I can't remember. But he's the sports guy at one of the big stations in Dallas, Mike Ducey. Okay, but okay, back to the coach thing and what you earned. You've been on this, and you brought this up this morning on Fox and Friends, and I'm really, really curious about it because I saw Joey Jones talk about it a little bit as well. This idea of Tim Walz's military service and his deployment. Tell me about this story.
So the reason I'm on it, the reason I was able to jump on it so quick is I've known about it for years and years. I mean, Walz he was a congressman running on his vet record for a long time. And there's a lot more there too of what he voted against. Then he ran for governor and ran for re-election. And I knew a lot of folks involved in the Jensen campaign, which is his most recent re-election effort, where, by the way, Jensen stood at a podium with an empty podium next to him because Walz refused to debate. But it was a slow trickle because, in the military, guys don't want to speak out and disparage other people that have served. And especially at the level of sergeant major or command sergeant major, there's only a small number of guys that reach that level inside the Minnesota National Guard. So they all know each other. This is a handful of guys in different units that would know all the other sergeants major in the state of Minnesota. We don't have to get into ranks to talk about that, but it's the highest enlisted man inside a unit. So a battalion will have one, a brigade will have one, all of that. And they're in charge of making sure all the NCOs are trained. Everybody knows their job. They're the subject matter experts. They maintain standards. They're very important. And so Walz was a sergeant major. Now, when you do that as a commander, you become a command sergeant major. And what the first accusation.
And really quick, you've told me in the past, this is like one of the highest respected levels, honestly, in the military. Like, sergeant major, your highest level NCOs are some of the most respected dudes in the military. You've told me that before, right?
100%, just no doubt. And because they've gone through the ranks, they're in touch with NCOs. They're the chief advisor to the commander. So the commander has a different set of training than an enlisted guy. There's a whole thing there, but they're very well respected. And you would think, so first of all, if you become a command sergeant major, that's a new title because you're in a command. And there's a stolen valor argument being made against Tim Walz because he says he's a command sergeant major, even though he never really fulfilled his time as a command sergeant major. So he really should just go by Sergeant Major Walz, which is still fine. But I find that less offensive. It's like a small technicality thing, which is correct, but not as significant as the fact that he was the sergeant major, he was the command sergeant major for a field artillery unit who was slated to go to Iraq. This is 2005. I mean, this is dicey times. The Minnesota National Guard is going to Iraq. And he spent years with this unit, years in the Minnesota Guard, decades. They get notification they're going on deployment. He tells multiple people, well, I'm going, I'm in, I'm going. Of course you would be going. This is your unit. These are your men. These are the men that you've trained, that you know, that you're invested in, and they're about to go into harm's way. And this is what you've done for 20 years. And you're as prepared as anybody else. Wouldn't you want to make sure you're there for your men? Not Tim Walz. Tim Walz found a quiet way around the chain of command to get released from that obligation. I still need to get more information on exactly how he did that. There's different ways to do that. But there's a lot of connections, political connections inside a National Guard. It's inherently more political because it's a civilian military relationship. So he bowed out and shortly thereafter ran for Congress instead of going on the deployment with his unit. Now, he has no defense for this. He never has been. The Minnesota press is as bad or worse than the national press as far as how complicit they are with Democrats. They're totally in the tank. So they'll never press him on it. It's always the opposing candidate that has to try to raise the issue. And it wasn't until this most recent governor's run where 3 other sergeants major and command sergeant major came out and said, Tim Walz bailed on his guys. We know it. We were there. He left. He's a coward. It just says a lot about a guy that you would go that much time in uniform and then make it the central part of who you are. And then when it was ready to go play in the Super Bowl, you bailed.
All right. This is fascinating to me. So let me just play maybe devil's advocate, but just a little bit of curiosity. First of all, I didn't know you could do that, Pete. So meaning I didn't know you could bow out. Like I didn't think it was volunteer deployment. I thought if you're in the unit, you get deployed. I didn't know you could say, I'd rather not. But you're telling me there's political ways that you can get out.
You are correct technically. You're technically correct. But there are, especially if you're a senior, if you're a sergeant or a private and your unit gets activated, you're going, right? But if you're a major or a lieutenant colonel or a sergeant major, you might know a technicality or a slot that's open over here that you can get transferred to that's not deployable, or a different position or an excuse, or you can get diagnosed with something. People get pregnant, women, things happen, so you don't go on a deployment. And in this case, it's quite obvious he pulled one of those levers, because the easiest and most straightforward thing is, all right, my orders are coming, I'm going with my guys.
Okay, so 2 questions. Would there, in your mind, be a legitimate reason for him to do it? Before we run to, like, coward, I don't want to go to war, is there any, like, legitimate, like, I don't think running for Congress would count as legitimate, right? Even if he knew he was going to do that a year away, a career switch doesn't sound like legitimate. My talents are needed in another post. Is that, like, is there a legitimate reason he would have been reassigned or moved away from combat deployment?
There are needs of the Army reasons why that can happen. That's not, if there were a legitimate reason, Tim Walz would have presented it by now. It's been almost 20 years. He hasn't. He simply says there's disgruntled other members. It was to run for Congress. He shortly thereafter ran for Congress. He ran in 2006 in a highly disputed district, which hadn't gone Republican or hadn't gone Democrat for a long time. So it wasn't a shoe-in race. He could have run in 2008 in a contested race as well. He wanted to get his political career going. He was done with the military thing. And I know guys who do 19, 20 years are like, oh man, I was ready to get out, and that happens, and that's your choice. But they retire and go into civilian life. They don't purport to be the commander in chief of the National Guard and then be the next second in line to be the real commander in chief. That's, I think, why there's an issue here.
So you're saying there are guys that have spent 20 years in the military. They're on the verge of retirement. It's like, oh man, I was just getting ready to get out. I don't want to deploy to war.
Sure.
But on the flip side, while I'm granting benefit of the doubt, and look, who am I? I'm an idiot, right? I'm the idiot that's watched Band of Brothers, right?
No,
but I saw legitimate. How hard it was for Dick Winters to be pulled away from his unit into a leadership post, right? He wanted to be in the field. The point is, I've seen and know, at least anecdotally, something you know firsthand, which is if you put this amount of time in with your guys and now it's time to go, it does seem like most heroic figures would be like, you're damn straight I'm going.
That's it. That's all the instinct I want. You're damn straight. I'll put pause on my political ambitions. I'm still young. I don't know how old he was, but he's 60 now. So he was in his early 40s. He didn't have to be, didn't have to be the moment. He said, I don't want to do it. You're disrupting my personal plans. Well, what do you think a deployment is? It's the disruption of your life. That's why you watch the guys that are interviewed, and this tape will get played, and they'll be on our air. The sergeant majors who came out, these are salt of the earth people. These are people the type of people I knew in the military that I grew up with. They're not looking for fame. They don't call people out for their own benefit. They're reluctantly coming forward to say that was a cheap move. It was a cowardly move, and you left your men behind. And that's, I don't know if this becomes a swift boat level thing with John Kerry from 2004 or not, because he's not on the top of the ticket. It is Kamala Harris. But with the contrast of JD Vance, who did go when asked to go to Iraq, and he said that today on the air at a rally. I was called and I went. Tim Walz was called and he didn't. It has a chance of being a pretty significant issue. We'll see. A lot of this feels still very secondary.
Pete, I haven't read in on this, so I'm asking you in earnestness and curiosity. I've seen it mentioned. I don't know if it has any validity, like stolen valor. Now, it would only mean to me stolen valor if he's claimed sort of war hero status, right? Has he done that? Like, he hasn't gone on to claim big war status after opting out.
No, there is a clip on the internet where he talked about grabbing guns, right? He wants to take weapons of war like the ones I carried in war, right? So he's sort of used it as a turn of phrase. That is not stolen valor. That's hubris. Stolen valor is more concerted than that. But and I'm sure there's 50 other clips like that.
It's covering yourself. It may not be covering yourself in glory and valor, but it's covering yourself in authority that you do not have.
Absolutely,
you are not an
right.
authority on carrying a weapon into war.
I mentioned it at the front quickly, but the actual stolen valor part would be using the title Command Sergeant Major instead of Sergeant Major, which I think gets into a lot of technicalities that won't actually grab hold. And most people aren't eminently offended by the small distinction between the two, which isn't actually a change in rank. It's just a change in title. So that's the stolen valor charge, which I don't think will take much hold, but that there's a reason you could use that phrase. And it's not about saying I was in combat. It's about saying I had a rank that I didn't have.
All right, I haven't seen you now. I haven't seen you for a good two some odd weeks.
Oh, I missed you.
Yeah, I missed you too. You're coming back a broken man. You went to Montana. By the way, my beloved Montana as well. Like, spent a year of my life up there. I want to hear about that. And I heard you blew out you blew out an ankle.
We can go backwards. Yeah, let's go backwards. I will talk about your beautiful state of Montana because it's unbelievable. I mean, I've been there before, but this was up in the Whitefish area, which is near Canada. It's just absolutely gorgeous.
Oh, fancy.
Yeah.
It's like saying you went to Vail.
What?
Fancy. It's like, I went to Colorado. Where'd you go? Aspen.
Oh, is that what it
Whitefish.
is? Is Whitefish like the fancy part? I didn't know that.
A
I
little
mean, we
bit,
went to
yeah.
a rodeo. It wasn't very fancy. Anyway, we'll get into that. Hold on. But yesterday was Boone's 12th birthday, and all he wanted to do was play slip and slide wiffle ball, which is where you have a slip and slide to every base, and you know, sprinklers going everywhere, and then you put soap on the slip and slide, so it's super slip. And they had a ball, right? I mean, it was a lot of fun, and we played for hours. Played 2 really long games successfully, and I told Jen, I'm like, hey, we're gonna play one more. She's like, really, one more? I'm like, yeah, I'll play one more with the kids. Got a bunch of kids over here. And one of the kids hits a fly to left field. I'm playing left field. And you know that little change? My dad, by the way, is pitching. So my dad's here. Grandpa's here. And he pitched. And you know when you make a change of direction and it slipped, and I went over the front of my toes and then fell back over my knee. It's a classic ACL old man tear. Like I went over my foot, my knee went down, but my whole body went back over the knee. And then I awkwardly fell like this and like let out a squelch, and all the kids laugh, and they're like, because the ball is going and everything. And my dad screams, "Oh no, stop the game. Oh no, he's hurt." And I'm telling you, I did not tear my ACL, but I should have. And instead I just mangled my ankle. I mean, I don't know what I did. I don't know if I have to go in. I don't know if it's slightly broken or not, but I'm limping around. And it would be a great excuse not to do the SEAL swim this weekend if I had been training, but I wasn't, so I can't use it as an excuse. It was an old man fall. It could have been really bad. Thankfully, it wasn't horrible.
You should be glad. Yeah, you should be really happy you're not doing the SEAL swim this weekend, because there are current updates through today on whether or not it will be canceled because of weather. And unfortunately, thunderstorms, which now look like they have passed. So we'll be doing it in the rain, but we've threaded the needle to the worst possible situation. It's on in the rain, but swells could be salty. And there is nothing worse. And you know this. You hated the little bit of wind chop we had last year. Swimming in the swells of the Hudson with it just crashing against your face while you're trying to breathe. It's gonna be bad, dude. It's going to be bad.
And what does it start? I think it starts at 9:30, right? Eastern. So you'll miss the back part of the show.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
It's 8:30. So it's a real awkward thing where I don't even know if I'll be in studio. But anyway.
Yeah. You got to come in studio. Anyway, you'll do it, and you'll do it well. By the way, people should tune in on Saturday. It's always awesome to watch. He will kill it in the swells because the guy could swim like a, I don't know, like a college
I still
athlete.
have trained 0 yards.
No.
0 yards.
0 yards?
In the ocean. Well, in a pool. So I don't know how many. I did swim in the ocean in Hawaii 4 times. So I did stretch it out a little bit. But yeah, it's going to be a lot rougher for me than it was last year. A lot rougher.
What are you doing?
Very little training.
Yeah, so Hawaii,
this is like going in reverse. The first year you didn't train. The second year you did train.
Yes. And by the way,
hey, by the way, on
the Willish's information, the second year went great, and the first year did not. So that's what you might have.
That's the year you were towed.
Yeah,
you had to get towed.
I don't
by
think
a
you're
jet
going to
ski.
get towed, but it might not be the nice sail you had last year.
Right. What kid cranked it in wiffle ball that made you have to switch directions and run backwards?
The neighbor kid. The neighbor kid. And he showed up. He showed up with a lot of. It wasn't one of my kids. It was the neighbor kid. He
showed up with a stick in wiffle ball, huh?
I don't know. It was really awkward. Will, it was not like I was running. It was like just a small change of direction and then just over keeled, and then and I got up and I was limping and I thought and a horsefly was trying to bite me, and so I was slapping it, and then it hurt my elbow. My elbow got hurt from just trying to slap the horsefly, and then so I just jumped in the pool and went like this. It was not, and the game ended right there.
When you said you got hurt, I thought for sure you were going to say on the slip and slide, and it turns out it was in the outfield. Finally, on this last, before we move on, were you a laugher when your friend got hurt when you were little? Like I laughed. If I were there, oh yeah. But my best friend when I was growing up, he was the worst. I mean, he laughed like he'd heard the funniest joke in the world. We used to have this thing in my hometown of Sherman, Texas called Hospital Hill. I mean, because and I broke my leg on Hospital Hill in the winter. But one of the things that you try to do is ride your bike down Hospital Hill. I broke it sledding. Or even more crazy, skateboard down Hospital Hill, right? But whether or not it was the bike or the skateboard, you'd get the speed wobbles, right? As you start picking up, and then you start overcorrecting, and next thing you know, you're sliding down asphalt. And I remember doing that and just strawberries up all over my body. And as much as it hurt, pain was not greater than the anger I felt at my friend laughing so hard at all of my injuries in my fall.
I get it. That's why I'm glad my dad was there. He recognized the seriousness of it, and he tended to my wounds. Yes, Hospital Hill. I got to try that.
Yeah, I'll take you back there. We can hit Hospital Hill. Okay, last topic with you here. Yesterday, I did watch Tim Walz. I watched Kamala Harris. Finally, I watched Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, introduce them. Pete, man, audience better understand, that dude is pretty good. I mean, pretty good. He can deliver a speech. And there's some saying that Kamala Harris didn't pick him because he would have outshined her. And let me tell you something. He outshined both of them yesterday. But whatever it is, he was not picked. And it's really interesting as to why he was not picked. She needs Pennsylvania. He's really good. At this point, I mean, in order to win an election, even if your backup is better than you, if it helps you win an election, you got to take that. So why? And this fascinating discussion took place on CNN about why Shapiro was not picked by Harris. Watch.
So having that kind of response, I think, is probably more of an open door to the parts of the party that have been very frustrated with the Democrats.
So, but just to one point on the Gaza war, Shapiro has the same position on Israel that Governor Walz, that Senator Kelly has. He's actually been more critical of Netanyahu than the other two, but he is Jewish.
And he's also the face of the crackdown on the protests, right? He spoke very vehemently about those campus protests as being anti-Semitic.
Not all of them. The ones that were anti-Semitic, he criticized as being anti-Semitic.
But he was out front on the issue. So I'm wondering if that's the kind of thing that, again, for the activist wing of the party,
sure, absolutely,
they felt was a slap in the face.
I don't know if you can hear that, Pete, in any other way than to hear he was too Jewish for the activist party. It wasn't his policies. It wasn't a differentiating factors, Tapper points out. He didn't call the protests anti-Semitic at large. Tapper says just the ones that were clearly anti-Semitic. So what is it other than his name is Shapiro and he's Jewish that disqualified him from the other candidates to be vice president?
I think that's a huge part of it. I was almost certain, again, casually reading the news when on vacation, looking at the who's up, who's down. It just felt like time and time again, it was going to come back to Shapiro. Okay, they may have a difference of opinion, but I looked into it. Yes, he had moved his position, whether it was more pro-Israel or not, more toward the Kamala Harris base of the Democrat Party position because he knew he had to be palatable to be the vice presidential pick. He was playing the game. Yet at the same time, he'd won 60% of the vote in Pennsylvania. And ultimately, obviously, they knew he was charismatic. I don't know. I think that the Jewish thing was part of it. By the way, from what I understand, I'd have to verify this, but I think Josh Shapiro and Jake Tapper went to high school together or college together. Like they know each other fairly well. So Jake Tapper has been defensive of him or would know his background. I don't have that verified. So that's just something I've heard from people I would deem credible. I think it's more so that Kamala Harris is exceedingly thin-skinned and exceedingly unsure of herself. And picking somebody who's that ambitious, and that is the big word. I mean, every politician is ambitious, but Josh Shapiro is on hyperdrive on that from people that I've spoken to that know him, that know his trajectory. He's just really good and knows it. And even the interviews portrayed a little bit of that to Kamala Harris. She can't have that. It shows you how insecure she likely is, in that was enough to cause her pause to go with a comfy shoe. Then the shoe-in, it wouldn't be a shoe-in, but a head start on winning Pennsylvania, which means you win the White House. But I also think picking Tim Walz means picking Ilhan Omar, which means going with Rashida Tlaib wing of the party, which is really safe right now inside the modern Democrat Party, saves you a lot of headaches that you would definitely have with Josh Shapiro. Maybe turns the temperature down in Chicago at the convention. Maybe that was part of the deal too. We know the Democrat Party has an anti-Semitism problem that's quite evident. And I think they don't want to talk about this being part of it. But if it wasn't the lead part, it was definitely part of it. How can you just talk openly about, well, he's just Jewish, he's too Jewish? I mean, how Jewish can it be? It's like, well, when did that disqualify? It's almost like saying, well, he's just too black, or he's too this, or he's too that. Like, that shouldn't be the qualification on any direction. But clearly it's top of mind for too many Democrats.
I love the analogy of Tim Walz being a comfy shoe. I got to thinking about, like, what kind of shoe is Tim Walz? And I was like, is he a hey dude? But a hey dude is a little too Southern, right? Like, I mean, a lot of dudes walking around SEC country and some hey dudes. And then I got to thinking, well, maybe he's a Croc, like a foam slipper Croc. But I think Crocs are probably bipartisan. So then I was like, well, he's probably a Birkenstock. Like, if he is a comfy shoe, those might be getting. My sons wear Birkenstocks, so I don't know. I don't know what comfy shoe is Tim Walz.
I think Tim Walz is the 1990s, 2000s all-white Reebok shoe worn by every gym teacher in America. All right, that's what he is. It's a very comfy.
But the thing is, the problem with your thing is, in 2 days, my producer just jumped in as well and said he's a New Balance. And I don't think you guys are keeping up with the times. I think you need to understand young kids are wearing Birkenstocks. They are wearing New Balance. New Balance is super in, which I like, by the way, because New Balance is American. I need to get me some New Balance. And the young kids, Pete, are wearing those dad shoes you're talking about. You're talking about like the Air Monarch 2000s, which are Nikes, and then the Reebok clunky white ones. Those are in, man. That's like not frumpy old Tim Walz.
All right, my wife's right here.
That's stylish Gen Zer.
She just said, do you even know what hey dudes are? And I don't even know what a hey dude is. I don't even know what that is.
You might have hey dudes.
What are they?
I could see you wearing some hey dudes. I don't know. Look it up on your computer right now. It's like a hey dude is like, it's like a canvas slip-on, but chunky.
Oh, yeah. Everybody's wearing those. Even some of the cowboys at the ranch we were at were wearing these hey dudes. I'm like, where are your cowboy boots? And they're wearing hey dudes.
I know. They're not a good look. I don't care how popular they are. They're not a good look.
I agree with you. Yeah, those are terrible.
What is the liberal
might be a hey
comfy
dude.
shoe?
Yeah, but I don't know what the gym teachers are wearing these days. Whatever it is, that's Tim Walz.
Is it an On Cloud? I just bought some On Clouds. I finally caved. The ultimate
the
white people
OCs?
shoe. I just got one.
Why'd you do that?
I didn't get the ones. I liked them. I got the Roger Federer version. I really liked it. And you and I went through our Jordan phase together, and I had to stop. Not just because Nike's woke. That was your reason. Mine is because I'm too old at this point. I think I'm too old to be wearing Jordan
No,
ones.
there's no. Don't give in on that. No. Now, I think we're buying whatever these are on Clouds is old.
Where you look at a dude. What is the shoe where you look at a dude and you go, he's a lib? You know you can do it. I'm trying to think what the shoe is.
Maybe Tom's? What about Tom's?
Yeah, for sure. I think I am real suspicious of any shoe without socks that shows a disproportionate amount of the top of the foot. Like, not flip-flops, but any loafer. I know that a lot of dudes out there likes them. I think my guy James in the studio likes those shoes. I think the top of your foot is effeminate. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see any veins or pale skin. So that one always throws me for a
Well, once
live
again, I
by.
got to
What's
give it
up,
to
2
Mrs.
days?
Hegseth for the Tom's call. She whispered that in my ear like a good producer. I couldn't tell you a shoe at all.
Hey, Pete, I think I have one. As a guy with many lefty friends, the Vans are a lefty shoe. I think slip-on Vans
like
are a lefty
Vans.
shoe. But if I see someone,
got him. I'm guilty.
I know. But if I see someone with slip-on Vans, I think lefty.
I see the newer version of the old school suedes here. I feel like those are I don't know. I think we've become a
Vans.
monoculture. Will we've become your troublesome
I know.
monoculture? We're adopting each other's footwear, and it's unidentifiable whether you're a lib or a conservative. And that's
Even
a problem.
cowboy
I'd
boots.
say boots.
No, there's some like that whole hipster Brooklyn lefty. Let's look like we're mountain men. I think that they're doing like I can't put on a pearl snap. I can't look at a pearl snap shirt and go left or right. And I'm not sure you can do cowboy boots. You can do cowboy boots, but you're not batting 1,000. You're like in the 70s. You're like in the 700s.
I'm gonna bet 90% with this one. How about Tivas? All right,
100% lib.
Can confirm.
On a
Can
man.
confirm. Yep. Can confirm.
On a man. Good one. Tivas. Yes. It
also,
used to be
Mrs.
Birkenstock.
Hegseth,
I feel
she
like
wins again today. We should have her on.
Jen is just nailing. Yeah, we should have her on. Forget off the grid with Pete and Will. Off the camera with Will and Jen.
That's right.
All right, man. Always good to have you. Go
Thanks,
enjoy the
brother. I'll
rest
see
of
you
your
this
day
weekend.
with your wife. All right. All right. Thank
Peace,
you,
brother.
man. See ya. It's Pete Hegseth. Check him out everywhere. Most notably, Fox and Friends Weekend, Fox Nation. Mr. Danny Heim on YouTube says, Coke was good, but now it is bad. Has Coke changed? I mean, like recently? I'm unaware of the formula change in Coke. Chief Walk-On YouTube says, Pepsi sucks. I get it. Like if you're picking the whole team thing, I'm not really on a soft drink team. So I'm not disappointed sometimes. Just a nice ice cold Pepsi. Yeah, that's refreshing. All right, coming up. Defining Tim Walz. The attempt to make him folksy and moderate versus who he actually is and what many are calling the furthest left Democratic ticket for president ever. Next on The Will Cain Show.
The world of business moves fast. Stay on top of it with the Fox Business Rundown. Every Monday and Friday, Fox Business reporters, anchors, and hosts will bring you beneath the stock market speculation and boardroom drama to tell you about the biggest business stories of today. Whether you're on Main Street or Wall Street, Fox Business is invested in you. Listen to the Fox Business Rundown every Monday and Friday at foxbusinesspodcasts.com, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you download your favorite podcasts.
Gunnar Henderson and the Orioles battle the Rays. Or the Cubs.
You gotta be kidding me!
Take on the White Sox. Baseball Night in America, Saturday at 7 Eastern on Fox. Saturday, it's Houston, it's Boston, it's Fenway Park. Jose Altuve leads the Astros against Rafael Devers and the Red Sox. Saturday at 4 Eastern on FS1.
The world of business moves fast. Stay on top of it with the Fox Business Rundown. Every Monday and Friday, Fox Business reporters, anchors, and hosts will bring you beneath the stock market speculation and boardroom drama to tell you about the biggest business stories of today. Whether you're on Main Street or Wall Street, Fox Business is invested in you. Listen to the Fox Business Rundown every Monday and Friday at foxbusinesspodcasts.com, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you download your favorite podcasts.
You can judge a man by his friends. So who is celebrating Tim Walz as the pick for Kamala Harris's vice president? It is the Will Cain Show, streaming live at foxnews.com, on the Fox News YouTube channel, and the Fox News Facebook page. Always on demand. Hit subscribe, Apple, Spotify, or on YouTube. If you're on YouTube or Facebook, jump into the comments section. You can do it as well on Twitter, Instagram. We'll bring you into the show here in the third segment. We're going to bring you in, the Willisha. So right now, the Harris-Walz ticket is essentially running for the presidency on vibes. like good vibes. It's all enthusiasm and smiles. I find it fascinating on the vibes how many people are turned off by Kamala Harris. I got to be honest, like, I don't see it as much as everybody else. Like, one of the producers of the Will Cain Show, Young Establishment James, said recently that she makes his blood boil. And I'm already hearing this from some women, like, can't stand her. And she's not Hillary Clinton to me, like, on the whole, just superficial, stylistic effect on people. But she's got a phoniness to some that is really rubbing them a wrong way. Like, I felt that way. I'll tell you guys in New York, I felt that way with Tim Walz yesterday watching. So what I'm talking about, and I'm not trying to be, cheap or partisan, like, just watched him coming out on stage. And there's a lot of heart touching and constant laughing to no apparent joke. You can't hear him, but he's behind Kamala Harris, and she'll be like, "Hello, Philadelphia." And he'll just erupt into a joke like Dave Chappelle just said something great. And I'm like, there's nothing that funny. Nothing happened. Nothing made you laugh like that. And he was just giving me super phony vibes, but I'm hearing like, and I know Kamala's phony with her laugh. I know that. It's just like the vibes thing.
Cackling Kamala.
Yeah. The vibes thing, I don't know, man. I do believe style and superficiality play a big role in a lot of people's decision-making.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how she's playing to not just a lot of independents, but a lot of women stylistically.
I think the fact that we know that is part of what makes the blood boil so much, because we know that she's portraying a lot of this election in 35 to 45-second clips that look really good to a passerby voter. And I think it's just really hard to watch it. Like, if you have it on the screen for half an hour, you can tell that she's incompetent and not an intelligent person. But that's just not getting through to the middle of the country.
Back to the vibes thing. I mean, they're running a TikTok campaign. I mean, there's like kids doing dances
we're on
to the
TikTok
Coconut
right now.
song, right? Yeah. But I got to tell you, the 35-second world is really, I think it's really powerful. I know it's powerful in media. And the four of us have talked a lot about this because I'm going to be real with you. We have not mastered the 45 seconds of media. I think that the Will Cain Show is a really good 1 hour show, radio show, podcast, digital show. I think we're doing things, having a conversation with the audience, offering you unique and insightful opinions, if I do say so myself, and subjecting ourselves to debates and having in-depth interviews that is not one of a kind. I mean, I think there's some good stuff out there. Rogan's doing great work, and others, but unique, a rarity. But we have not mastered, and I'm on these guys a lot, but we have not mastered the 45-second to 35-second clip on Twitter, on Instagram. And there are a lot of shows in media that are really popular and really good in those clips. And I'm like, wow, that show's really successful. And then I watch it, and it's not good for 40 seconds. It's good for 35 maybe, and then it's not good for 40. And you're making the same argument about Kamala. It's really powerful in media to be good for 30 seconds. And I don't know if she can run a campaign on vibes and TikTok and 35-second clips. I would like to think no, because I would like to hope media, public appetite, and especially leadership for the country, it matters for you to have more depth. The thing is, if you're good in 35 seconds, you should be able to be judged bad in 35 seconds as well. And what I mean by that is if someone lays out who they are in 35 seconds, well, listen to them. I mean, listen to Tim Walz tell you his political philosophy in 30 seconds.
But we can get out there, reach out, make the case. And for one thing, don't ever shy away from our progressive values. One person's socialism is another person's neighborliness.
Should Minnesota be a sanctuary state?
If the definition of that is that the federal government enforces immigration law and local law enforcement enforces local law, then yes.
Should cities be allowed to be sanctuary cities?
Yes, local control.
All right. Number two, it seems like elected officials are always surrounded by lots of people, staff, other lawmakers. What is the last thing that you did truly out in the public, truly by yourself?
I went to Menards and bought an air filter for my furnace.
Offering driver's license to illegal immigrants, bill signed in Minnesota. Creating sanctuary cities, Minnesota. Opening up bathrooms, by the way, public schools in Minnesota to tampons for transgender, what is that? Dudes who say they're girls? Not moderate. Boys playing girls' sports. Far left. And describing socialism as someone else's definition of neighborliness, not moderate. Now, if that is what Tim Walz wants to tell you, if he wants to tell us that, maybe we should dig into what his definition of neighborliness is. Because during COVID, he was one of the most stringent, strict governors in the nation, going so far as to encouraging his residents to report on their neighbors if they're breaking COVID violations, and watching as Minnesota literally burned, Minneapolis burned in neighborhoods during the George Floyd riots of 2020. This is the governor's wife, the first lady of Minnesota, talking about her neighborliness.
I would say those first days, when there were riots, I could smell the burning tires. And that was a very real thing. And I kept the windows open for as long as I could because I felt like that was such a touchstone of what was happening.
Businesses burning down in Minnesota was a touchstone that need to be reminded of, not in a negative fashion, but to understand the depth of passion of the riots in 2020 in Minnesota. Maybe their definition of neighborliness isn't yours, isn't mine, isn't moderate. Maybe their definition of neighborliness is close to the definition of socialism. And maybe if you can judge a man by his neighbors or his friends or his fans, we should listen to who's excited about Tim Walz as the pick to run along with Kamala Harris. He has been celebrated by Ilhan Omar. He has been celebrated by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. He has been celebrated by Jamal Bowman, former member of the squad, now voted out in a Democratic primary. Watch.
It's Walz, baby, let's go! High school teachers stand up, public education stand up, educators stand up, young people stand up, working class people stand up. It's Walz, baby, let's go! Tim Walz in the building! Time to win in November, y'all. Let's go, all hands on deck. No staying at home. Let's go!
It's like, he's doing, what is he doing? First take? Is he doing, a pregame walkout? Is he doing WWE styles politics? The truth is he's doing none of it anymore because he lost a Democratic primary. But he's excited. By the way, Walz seems to have the support of the entire squad. Your second member of the squad has lost in a Democratic primary. Cori Bush, now out. So as the Democratic voter base begins to reject these crazy far leftists like Bush and Bowman, Kamala Harris picks somebody they all love in Tim Walz. Folksy? Maybe. Socialist? Clearly. You, the Willisha, and 1 year later, what's it look like in Lahaina? That's next on The Will Cain Show.
From the Fox News Podcasts Network. Listen to the all-new Bret Baier podcast featuring Common Ground, talking to lawmakers weekly from opposite sides of the political spectrum about the issues of the day and how Americans can find common ground in a politicized world.
That's just not happening on Capitol Hill. It takes leadership, right?
Yeah, it absolutely does.
Along with all your Bret Baier favorites like the campaign, the candidates, the all-star panel, and much more. Available now at foxnewspodcasts.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Streaming now on Fox Nation, a new season of Duck Family Treasure. It's treasure time. The Robertsons are back.
Duck hunt, treasure hunt, finally go.
Tell the ducks we coming for their biggest.
You gotta cut a squirrel in half.
Beeping season ever.
Go big or go home.
All new episodes.
Looking at what we find doesn't tell the story.
One unforgettable season.
When you see how we find it, it'll ignite the engine.
My hands are shaking.
A new season of Duck Family Treasure, streaming now on Fox Nation. Sign up at foxnation.com.
From the Fox News Podcasts Network.
Hey, this is Trey Gowdy, host of the Trey Gowdy Podcast. Every Tuesday, you'll hear what's on my mind. Plus, every Thursday, there's a special bonus episode where we answer the questions that are on your mind. Make sure to spend your Tuesdays and Thursdays with Trey. Subscribe now at foxnewspodcast.com or wherever you download podcasts. Hope to see you.
America's listening to Fox News.
Tim Walz is not far left. Typical Fox propaganda, says Hump 1953 on YouTube. It is the Will Cain Show, streaming live at foxnews.com and on the Fox News YouTube channel and the Fox News Facebook page. Just hit subscribe at Apple or Spotify. You can always hang out here with us here on the Will Cain Show in audio format. Hit subscribe on YouTube, and you can jump into the comments section. Watch us every day here on the Will Cain Show. We've got you, who we affectionately call the Willisha, jumping into the show here today. User FL3ND2BU6I asks me, why is no one talking about Maui anymore? Weird. I'll give you an update. I was just there last week in just a moment here on the Will Cain Show. Let's bring the guys back in New York. Tell me, what are people saying today? What are we hearing from the Willisha two-a-days?
So it's been interesting in the chat. There's been a lot of Kamala support in our chat today, which is interesting. I think people are going out in droves to, like you were talking about, to support Kamala. But we've had some in the past couple days that have been interesting. This one was from yesterday's show. Shapiro can deliver PA to Kamala and run for office later.
That may be. Maybe. Well, first of all, if I'm Josh Shapiro, I think I don't want to be her running mate. I don't want to be. I don't know what the odds are. What is the bet? One of you guys can look it up. What's the betting markets right now?
Yeah, look it up.
Trump versus Kamala.
Trump might be up like 52, 53%. Not polling betting markets, but it is basically it's a coin flip at this point.
Even so, if I'm Josh Shapiro, I don't bet on Kamala. I just think that's a bad bet. This is a woman who polled at would she get 1% in the Democratic primary? She got 0 votes, meaning won no states, no delegates, nothing during the Democratic primary.
I have it.
She was, what's up?
I have it. So Donald Trump, 52.15% chance to win election. Kamala, 45.68% betting odds.
Oh, that's a 7-point swing, though.
Yeah, that's actionnetwork.com.
That's a coin flip, though.
I wouldn't bet on Kamala if I'm Josh Shapiro. I think he's got bigger political aspirations and prospects than being a vice presidential candidate with someone who I think has a better than average or better than not chance of losing. Like, if he's the vice presidential candidate on a losing ticket, I don't know what the future looks like after that. I can't think who is lost as the second and gone on in the future to be the lead and won tinfoil.
I was just going to say, never mind. I don't know the answer.
There's not. Jack Kemp was the star of the GOP, a former NFL quarterback in the 1990s, and then he hooked on to Bob Dole, who lost 400 electoral votes, and we don't really talk about him much anymore. I think we're not going to hear much about Gavin Newsom anymore either.
Joe Lieberman, you just didn't hear anything about him after he lost in 2004. But, I mean, who ran with Ford back in 76?
Rockefeller. Nelson.
Rockefeller.
Yeah.
I don't think it would have been smart for Shapiro. I think that going on his own in 28, I disagree, by the way. We haven't heard the last of Gavin Newsom. In 28, you're looking at Shapiro, you're looking at Newsom. I don't think you're looking at Kamala in a re-election campaign. And so I think it's wise for him not to run with her. He may still, to the commenter's point, they'll be able to deliver Pennsylvania 2-a-days.
Yep. So I got another one. This one I found to be pretty common these days. This back and forth with these two YouTube commenters, if you want to read that one.
Bob Woods 1302 says the GOP are so weird these days. I mean, I'm gonna before I read. Okay, so Hugh, I can't read that. You know I can't read that. Look at me, I'm so good. I caught myself on the name. You guys did you?
I actually didn't. Damn it!
I was going to say it for you.
But look how at this point, I mean,
I've been had.
I'm multi-talented.
I've been
I'm
had.
directing the show. Boom, I'm here. Then I'm here. I got a camera that I can zoom around, and I am the resident filter. I can see when someone has gotten me with a name that I cannot read on air.
I've been had. I apologize.
So
That's my fault.
Proud of myself for
Trying
catching
to sneak
that.
it by you.
But that guy whose name I can't say, let's just say his first name is Hugh.
Hugh.
His first name is Hugh. He said, "Why is the DNC so childish today?" But the first commenter, Bob, I mean, do you know when you've, and I'm not trying to insult here, do you know when you've been co-opted into like a drone, you become a bot? Like you are repeating the weird thing because that's what was handed to you. Like there's zero original thought. Zero original thought. You are an echo. You're something like a mile down the canyon that Tim Walz hears repeated back to him. And it's random. You just got the word. If we were placing bets right now, Bob has also said pandemic of the unvaccinated. He has said he's in the business of saving democracy. He said that Trump wants to be a dictator day one. What are some other of these?
Probably got a Ukraine flag in his Twitter
contagions?
bio.
Might have a Ukraine flag in his bio, right? Yeah. I mean, just come on, man. GOP's so weird. I bet he believes the couch thing. The couch thing is, I am appalled. I mean, I get it that it's funny and it's crazy, but I cannot believe that Harris and Walz have repeated it.
I would love to have a poll in America of Democrats to see how many people believe in that, the couch thing.
Well, we saw the poll that 1 in 3 believed that Trump assassination attempt was staged.
I know, but
1 in 3.
That's wild.
Yikes.
I saw it a lot.
I would like to see a poll.
Yeah.
Because I want to know how many people even heard that story
right.
versus how many believe it and how many know it's not true. You got anything else for me 2-a-days?
Yeah, I do. I have one that's a little critical of, the GOP a little bit here. Debbie Perro here.
She says, why do Republicans constantly criticize each other? No Dems do that. They know it costs them votes. So knock it off, Will. Who am I criticizing? I mean, I would, without a doubt, I would criticize Republicans, Debbie. But who are we talking about?
I think it was yesterday when you were saying, or was it Monday we were talking about the Big Lebowski quote and how, you're not wrong, you're just an a-hole, that kind of thing. Like, she probably felt that.
Right, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, okay. Well, here's my answer to you, Debbie. I'm not doing a team thing.
Yeah.
Sorry. I think you have a lot of options, Debbie, if you want to hear pom-poms wave. In fact, the ready availability of pure propaganda to make you feel better and release endorphins in your brain for confirmation bias is in infinite supply. I'm in the business of the truth. Now, here's the truth. I happen to believe that my principles, my, owned biases, and my opinions about the world help me arrive closer to the truth. I believe in the Constitution. I have conservative principles, meaning I see inherent value in tradition, which is inherently conservative. I believe in the Enlightenment values, negative rights. I'm a big believer in negative rights, not positive rights. I believe the founders are some of the biggest geniuses to ever grace the face of this planet. And I believe that Democrats largely are driven by on the surface, probably some self-delusion that they're making the world a better place, but really taken by the idea that they want to control everything. But that doesn't mean I think that everybody with an R bar that by their name is infallible, that they're all doing, just the right thing. And if that's what you want, Deb, I think you're going to be able to find it. It just may not be here. I also think you're wrong. Like, I don't think it's true that Democrats never criticize each other. I hear that. It's both sides do this. Like, the other side is so much better than us at staying unified and playing the harsh game policy. They both do that. I mean, they've been in a. Debbie, they just performed a coup on the sitting president of the United States.
It's true.
Nancy Pelosi just stuck her knife in the back of Joe Biden, but they never criticize each other? Come on. I would suggest find some people to tell you the truth. And trust the truth. Trust it to lead the world to a better place.
I like it.
All right, is that it?
Yeah.
You got anything else?
No, we're good. That's good. We heard from the people.
All right, I want to address, before we go today, I want to, I just got a text from Stephen A. Smith. I want to make sure it's not something I need to read on air. I don't know. It's a link to read something. This comment, why is no one talking about Maui anymore? Weird. Well, I mean, I'll give you, I don't think there's been a lot of updates on Maui. I think that's true. And I, for example, probably should do it more, but here's some sad truth about Maui. The public moves on. People stop caring. It's not that I stopped caring. I've stayed very involved in the background. A natural disaster or even a man-made disaster hits, and you don't hear about it, usually after a couple of days. Like, when's the last time you heard about the tornado victims in Moore, Oklahoma, or in Alabama? When's the last time you heard about the condo collapse in Florida? You remember that? All those people sleeping at night, and then all of a sudden the whole thing collapsed on top of them? I mean, when's the last time you heard about East Palestine, Ohio? I'm not telling you right or wrong. I'm just telling you how it is. And most people don't care for much stuff beyond their front yard. They care about their family. That's why I was so touched that so many people did care about Maui when we raised money to help the people there. Unfortunately, I think the ongoing interest in Maui was driven in part by, I would say, A, how little the government stepped up in the initial phases to help the people of Lahaina, and B, the falsehoods around the story that made it seem like something more salacious than simply a horrible tragedy. Direct energy weapons, intentionally set fire for Oprah, bunch of nonsense, bunch of crap. And that's why people have maintained some interest, a few people, longer than they have for other disasters. But true interest, I believe, if you should be caring about the people of Lahaina. Where are they today? I was there last week. I got onto a mule. I drove through the neighborhood of Wahakuli, tough for me even, and saw the empty lots. I got into a truck and drove down Front Street. And here's where you are. You're basically, if you're lucky, and most people are, I'd say we're at 70, 80% of residential lots, less on commercial lots, at ground zero. That means you've been graded down to nothing. You've been cleared of debris. You've had the toxins taken away. Still a little more work needs to be done to make it absolutely even on your lot. Say you had a home and you have a lot so that you can lay foundation, lay piers, lay beams, lay footings to build a house. I would suggest to you it's probable that in the next 6 months you'll start seeing, I think you've seen one or two, literally one or two. But in the next 6 months, you will see rooftops going up, frames going up of homes. The entire process for it to be built back to look like it was, it'll never look like it was before. One of the famous parts of Lahaina is called Front Street. Front Street had, shops on both sides, water side, mountain side. The shops on the water side, the shops and restaurants, will never come back. They'll never be back. They're never going to permit those to be rebuilt. They have to have a setback from the ocean now. That was all grandfathered in. It was a historic district. It won't be rebuilt the way it was before. There will be a debate about how far the setback has to be. So will there even be a Front Street? Will there even be a commercial district right there along the seawall? But for the people of Lahaina, not perfect, but many of them are making do today. They've received a ton of generosity from the people of America. I'll tell you more about that, including, by the way, just while we're addressing some of that conspiracy, from Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Oprah. The People's Fund, I know for a fact every single person I spoke to has gotten money, like $1,200 a month. I believe it was for 10 months. that The Rock and Oprah's People's Fund delivered to every person in Lahaina. So they have had FEMA's backing over the long term to pay for clearing their lots. They've had the generosity of Americans. They're making do living in Ohanas, back houses, finding new rent. They're having to pay too much for that rent. It's hard. It's hard. But they're making do. And I suspect you'll begin to see rooftops in the next 6 to 12 months. And, you know, when people post on social media, nothing's happened, it still looks like this. I don't think anybody understands that's doing that. The full extent of the devastation. Getting back to nothing is actually progress for the people of Maui. All right, that's going to do it for me today here on The Will Cain Show. I will see you again, same time, same place, tomorrow.